Hello, welcome to Miniature Realms. My name's Stuart. Just like the rest of the old world YouTube world, I made a reaction video about the Cathay Wave 2 releases. And one of the details in the article on Warcom was that the new Arcane Journal would have an army list that replaces the old one. And I thought it'd be really fun to discuss what those changes might be. Miniature Realms is proudly sponsored by Counter-Attack Bases. They stock a wide range of counters, gaming aids and movement trays for multiple game systems and offer custom items to suit your club, your event or even your podcast or YouTube channel. Check out the link in the video description. In the evening leading up to the reveal, I was chatting to some of my patrons in my Discord. There's a link in the video description for the Discord. You can go and join that for free. We were chatting about this bit in the private patron only bit. You don't have to join that to talk about Warhammer. It's just happened to be where it was, but go and check out my Patreon as well. But anyway, we were talking about the changes we would like to see to Cathay, and I have a Cathay army. I was talking to another Cathay player, and we're both very aware of some of the issues the army list has, and think that some other parts may be slightly overblown because of the big issues that are there. Everything gets magnified and sort of blown out of proportion, and calling for the army to be banned at times in certain places on the internet, I think is probably a step too far. But we do need to deal with balloons. So we're having a chat around what we would do. And I will show you one of the ideas that I came up with, and there were quite a few different things. But what I really want to discuss in this video is how the new regular Grand Army or the Cathay and Standard Army list might look in this new book with all these new units being added. If somehow you're watching this video and you haven't seen what has been revealed for Warhammer the Old World and Grand Cathay, a whole second wave, you can check out my thoughts in this little reaction video here. But we have a new Arcane Journal called The Breaching of the Great Bastion, and that'll have a new army list that replaces the original one. And we have new miniatures as well. We've got Iron Hail Gunners and Crane Gunners, and we have Peasant Levy, looks like it can be equipped with spears and with bows, and we have Astromancers as well. And that's quite a big change to the Cathayan roster. Now, everything that's going to be in this video is getting fun. It's wish listing. It's meant to be a conversation starter. I have no idea what's in that book. I haven't seen it. I haven't been told by anyone. And I'm just having some fun with this. I'm not even a particularly competitive player. So it's really to start a conversation and people get involved in the comments below and let me know what you think. I'm sure there'll be far better ideas that people know the insides and outs of a game, especially if you're a competitive player, about how things might be done. But it's a bit of fun. I thought, what the hell, let's do it. And then just to start with, just for funsies, these are the ideas that I'd like to see, very much wish listing, to do with the lantern, because they feed into some of my ideas for the list, but they don't really have to exist for the list to sort of come to fruition, so to speak. And I've left this pretty brief. There's loads more changes that could and maybe should happen, but the main one is dealing with the Sky Lantern. I've suggested maybe putting the points up, 165 points there. Remove Unbreakable. That Sky Lantern bombs are either a single use or 50 points, so a huge sort of knock up there to affect how many of these you might have in terms of spam. 0 to 1 as a character mount, reducing the allowance in rare by 1 per 1,000 points taken. You'll see that that relates to my idea of what I'd like to see in the list in a bit. And then a character mount may not take the Sky Lantern bombs as well. So it's designed there as that leadership bubble, boosting your cannon shots, which I read it as when I first saw it, because I'm not very tactically minded and didn't realize that people were going to spam them. And maybe the rules designers just didn't think about that either. And then miscellaneous, and you can add to this in the comments, please. Grand Cannon Thunderous Impact does not stack. Pretty straightforward. That's the way I've been playing it in my casual games anyway. And the Ringer Jet, single use and not common. And there will be lots of others to come up with, especially with the magic items. There's quite a few that can probably do with going up in points and things. I'm not so sure that that will happen. I'm actually not so sure
anything like that will happen, especially when it's to do with points changes. I don't know if we're going to see that. The articles on Warhammer are always quite brief anyway, so maybe there will be more, but it could just be that the page entry that shows what you can take in what areas of your army is what's going to change, and nothing else whatsoever. And I think that might be enough to make some changes anyway. I still think there might be a little FAQ along the way and certain rules adjustments for the Sky Lantern at least, and maybe things like Ring of Jet, but I'm not so sure they're going to make points changes. They could do, I hope they do, but we might not see that. So I spent a little bit of time just flicking through the armies of Grand Cathay and the Dawn of the Storm Dragon again, and we know that the Army of Infamy for the Jade Fleet is almost identical to the Grand Army list as well, and I think the Jade Fleet list might stay pretty much as it is. They've not mentioned it's going to change, and that can be your elite army where you get your Jade Warriors and your Jade Lancers in your core, and that's why they're in the north, the Empire, helping out Westerland, because the elite troops have been sent. That fits with all the lore, what we already know about what's going to be coming with this next Defense of the Bastion book, where it's the peasants and the levies and the gunners and the less elite troops that are left fighting. So that would make sense. So it's that core one we know that's changing, so maybe we'll see some changes in the list makeup. Let's see some of those elite troops being a little bit harder to get hold of and push down. Does that mean competitively that people are just going to take the Jade Fleet list? Yes, maybe. We will see. But have a go. This is what I think, or what I'd like to see maybe, as an idea for the new lineup for the Grand Cathay army list. Now remember, this is pure wish listing, not really even proper predictions, to be honest with you. It's just something that I thought would be fun to do. So characters are all the same there. Of course, we're adding in the Astromancer, and I assume they'd be called Lords, but Lord level and standard Astromancers. Other than that, left as it was. And then in core, still at least 25%, and I've added in the Peasant Levy. They might have 2 entries in the book, but I'm assuming that you can choose with how you fit them out, whether they've got the bows or whether they've got the spears, etc. I've added in the Crane gun teams and the Iron Hail gunners, because I think the core of the peasants will be your bulk troops, and then 0 to 1 unit of Jade Warriors per 1,000 points may be taken as a core choice. In the existing army list at the moment, you can have them as standard, and it's 0 to 1 on the Jade Lancers. I thought that a move away from potentially that elite feel would help with that. And if you still want that elite army, you take the Jade Fleet. Then as we go on to special, we have up to 50% of your army's points value on. So standard there, no changes in the percentages. Jade Warriors there, a standard move into special. Apart from that 0 to 1, you can still get 2 in your 2,000 point list. Jade Lancers move completely into special, and then all the war machines are the same as they were before. So 0 to 3 in the following list per 1,000 points. So the Fire Rain rocket batteries and the Cathayan Grand Cannon there, with that little suggested non-stacking rules change that I made earlier on. And then if your general is a Shigengan Lord or Shigengan 0 to 1, Cathayan Sentinel may be taken as a special choice. Left that in there, but you'll notice the absence of being able to take an extra Cathayan Lantern if you have a Gatekeeper or a Strategist there. And then we move on to rare. Up to 25% of your army's points value may be spent on 0 to 1 per 1,000 points for your Sky Lanterns, and then your Cathayan Sentinels left as they were before. So you can just take as many as fit into your rare slot. You can see there the restriction really is on the Sky Lantern, so that just means 2 in a standard 2,000 point list. And if something like my other suggestion, that if you've taken one as a character mount, that then counts towards your rare choice as well, still limiting it to 2. I don't know if they will do that, whether that's too complicated or whether they even restrict those miniatures after lots of people have bought them. I hope they do. I don't think many people have bought more than 2. I think there's a few people obviously on the tournament scene that have. I don't think there's many people that are spamming that many of them. They're very expensive, and people that want 2 can still get 2 in the list. I think 2's enough. I've got 1. That's it. I'm not telling people how to play the game, but if we also want a nice balanced game and lots of people are calling for it, then maybe those kind of restrictions are needed. And 2's still pretty good, but if you're pushing up the cost of the bombs as well and making some of the other changes, it will mean that it's a really, really tough army still, but not quite as cheesy as it was before. And there's probably call for doing even harsher things to it, maybe changing even more rules. But I think if you're restricting the number you can take and also pushing the price up, and also pushing the price up of things like bombs and limiting how many you can take, or maybe it's a one use, all those things start to add up and maybe make people look elsewhere in the army and take different kinds of builds. I don't think they're going to come along with a nerf ban and completely change them and make them unusable. They're not going to go that far. That's why I also don't think they'll do anything with the points. I think there could be some chances of those smaller changes happening. I think they're going to try and do something, whether it's just via the FAQ or via the FAQ and a slight change in this new army list, this new opportunity. That would be fantastic. And some of that might depend when the books went to print. If they've been printed and sitting in the warehouse for a very long time, or been on a boat from China or wherever they printed them this time around, then there could be an issue where even if they wanted to make some changes within this new and up and coming book, they haven't been able to do so. So again, it only leaves the FAQ open. But I kind of hope that some of the things we've seen as a community with the power level of the lanterns, and maybe they're a little bit overtuned, hopefully that was seen in time for this next book. But we have to accept that this book could have been written and planned a very, very long time ago. Anyway, the main reason for this video wasn't actually to bang on about lanterns, but they do take up all the oxygen when you talk about Grand Cathay. So I hope for that reason that there are some changes made that means that people can play them without feeling quite so dirty. In competitive settings, there's always ways to change things in casual games. But the main reason for this video was to talk about that new makeup of that army list. And that's the main thing I want to talk about in the comments. See, comment on anything you want. Tell me how you'd fix lanterns. That's interesting. But I'm more interested in where you think those new units are going to fit in to the Cathayan roster, and will it move other things out and change the allowance of them. And I do wonder whether that kind of elite feel army, as I've already said, fits nicely in Jade fleet, and those elite troops are rare now, or rarer, so they get pushed out a little bit and restricted, and the levies and the peasants and things find their way into those core slots to kind of give you a little bit more of a balanced army. It might mean that, as I said at the beginning, that the Jade fleet list becomes the more powerful one, the one that needs comping, but the core army list is a little bit toned down, and that's hopefully why they do something with the lanterns a little bit outside of just the list building part. But anyway, comments below, let me know what you think. Do you think any of that will be right? Would it be a completely really different thing? Have I lost my mind? I'm just excited, and this is fun stuff, and lots of new stuff coming now for Warhammer the Old World, it seems, and hopefully not too long now before we get a bead on those Marauders and when they might be arriving. With these things arriving in the new year, hopefully the Marauders will be coming even sooner. It still could be January, but maybe we'll be lucky and have a bit of a Christmas treat. That would be really fun. If you'd like to support me, just comment on the video, like it, that really helps. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. As I mentioned at the start of the video, do check out all the links there. Join the Discord, check out my Patreon. It's the very best way of supporting me, and thank you to all my existing patrons. If you want to buy Warhammer merch, there's a affiliate link there as well, and that gives me a little kickback. And also check out the channel sponsor, Counter Attack Bases. But thank you very much for watching. Take care, and I'll catch you soon.